It's no secret. It's plain to see. And I love you. And you love me. And it's no secret. You know it's true. You love me. And I love you. The only time we seem to meet is in the middle of the night. Only then can I feel your heartbeat. Till something's not right. Together I see you and me, always and all time. But not everyone would agree. To them it's a crime. It's no secret. It's plain to see. Yes, I love you. And you love me. And it's no secret. You know it's true. You love me. Yes, I love you.
Yes, we did it! I'm so excited. Every time it works, I'm like,
I have never heard of this app. And you told me in the email too. And I was like, what is this?
yes. So Fireside, I got on here in March. I think March or April.
Yeah.
So it's been a little while, but typically I record the episodes here because there's a live audience and people can kind of come in and out and participate if they want. But typically when I'm doing an interview, there's not like, chatter like that.
Yeah.
But, and then what you can do now inside the app is you can directly send it to, like, I use Libsyn for my podcast. You can directly podcast from here, like just one, like, configuration, and then you can just do it. And a lot of times for people who are not used to podcasting, that's super simple. For me, I add different commercials and things like that to my podcast. So I take the audio somewhere else. But yes. So
is it like, how does this well, obviously Solve is audio only, but this is video and audio, obviously. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so cool. So
and I had Kelly on as a guest not too long ago. Well, his episode hasn't been pushed to all the other platforms yet, but it will be. But yeah, so this has the video option. It only allows actually, I think it might allow 4 people now on video. And then also it's streaming. So it's simulcasting to like YouTube, and you can do it also to LinkedIn. So a lot of different other places. So interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's so dope. Yeah, this is really cool. And I'm liking it. Sorry, I'm just turning off my notifications on my computer because I just realized that it went off.
Or something.
I was like, dang it. So I like completely forgot because I have my computer as like my TV stand right now. Not my TV stand, my phone little stand.
Oh, nice. Well, so I'm going to introduce you as a content strategist. Do you want to be introduced as anything else?
I'm actually rebranding. Which I launched in January, the end of January, which I'm like, yay. So storytelling strategist is what I'm switching to.
Okay.
So I was like, let's just start with that. It's so weird because I was like, yeah, Instagram strategist, content strategist. I'm like, I just want to be a storytelling strategist. I love sharing stories. I love doing it on social media. So I feel like that's just like a really great way for me to like talk about social media along with storytelling.
Yes. Okay, well, so I will introduce you that way. And I'm going to say, I don't know if you got my email. I'm going to say Happy New Year because this is going to be in the 1st of January. And that will be good because you're about to launch in January. So that's great.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome back to the Sweet Byte Center podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I have my very special guest, storytelling expert extraordinaire. I'm going to say strategist, storytelling strategist, Akua Konadu. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Sandra. I'm so excited to be here hanging out with you for a little bit.
Yes. Well, so it is the brand spanking 2022 new year and new beginnings for a lot of people. What we wanted to talk about today was one, storytelling, content marketing, and the strategies that maybe people should be looking to implement maybe into 2022. So what are some of the things that you have found that we should be leaving in 2021?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. I will say with 2021 in regards to marketing, I think overall, just people just not being themselves, not like true value-based marketing. I think that's something that we need to talk about more. I think that's something to bring more into 2022. I think Gen Z millennials, we can tell a lot more when people are not being authentic. And I can tell when people are just not being genuine to their values or who they are. That really does show up a lot in their content marketing. And so that's something I would say, like, for people to just really leave behind, really think about how you want to show up on social media and what your values are and how you can align with that. So you can really create content that feels good to you, but is also very honest and true to you and your audience. I think that would be one thing I would say that we can leave behind in 2021. Because for me personally, like, really communicating my values and stuff, that is just, it's super important to me in my marketing. And so I just kind of see people, I think, obviously with 2020, when it was just really crazy and people are speaking about all of these social causes, and now 2021, a lot of people haven't said anything, very performative. And so, for me, it's like, just communicate your values and be honest with where you're at. I know there's much more, but I think for me, that was like my biggest piece with content marketing.
Yeah. Well, and so you recently, I should say recently, because like within the last 2 or 3 months, you were a speaker at a very big event for Show It. So can you talk about some of the things that maybe people were talking about there that kind of sparked maybe some additional avenues that people can go down in 2022 for their marketing?
Yeah, so I spoke at United, that was the very last United. They've done it for 10 years. And so they certainly went out with a bang. So shout out to the Show It team. They are amazing. And it was a photography conference, but it was just talking about all types of ways to help you build your photography business. And I spoke specifically about storytelling. But what I loved hearing about because I'm not a photographer, so I was already like, wow, this is like really cool. I'm learning more about the photography world. And so even just how they can show up in the marketing, how they can create passive income, just very different, various things as photographers, either whether they want to be an educator or really just change up their business. And so I mainly went into a lot of the marketing naturally into the marketing breakout sessions, just to kind of learn more and just hear more about the photography world. And I just love, again, about content marketing, about how you want to show up, how you want to plan out your content, and so really batching. I liked hearing about those things because I batch different, like all of us batch very differently. And so one thing that I always like to encourage people that really figure out what works best for you in regards to batching and content marketing. But it was really great just to see other people's perspectives, because my way is my way and the other person's way is the other person's way. So I really, really enjoyed that during United.
Yeah, well, I think that when you mentioned batching, and I think that that's a huge time saver and stress reliever for a lot of people when you think about how many platforms we are spreading ourselves to be thin on. It really does help to, number one, set your theme, right? Set whatever it is that your mission, your goal, your content is supposed to be about, and then be able to just, flow with it. Because a lot of times when I come across some individuals, whether it's clients or I look at people's content online, it's a lot all over the place, and it doesn't really shout out their cohesive message. But when you do batching, you have to come up with concepts. You have to actually think about what you're going to do. And I've heard a lot of times in different Facebook groups and things like that where people have said, I like to do mine in the moment. I like to create in the moment. And I feel like you can probably speak to this in that your storytelling doesn't have to be completely compartmentalized. You can be in the moment and have structure, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I love it, is because storytelling really gives you the freedom to do whatever you want to do. The way that I view content market and batching. So I know some marketers, I'm not saying everybody, but I know some, like what we commonly hear is, pick up to 5 categories that you want to focus on. And then those are the things that you're going to be consistently talking about on your social media. And the issue that I saw a lot of people were having was that they felt like they were putting themselves in a box. Like, that is a very simple concept and it is effective. But I noticed for some people, it just was not clicking for them. Like they were either overthinking it, or they were making it way more complicated than it needed to be. And again, they were restricting themselves and putting themselves in a box. What I love about storytelling is that their stories are all around us, right? Our life experiences, we are experiencing something new every single day. So what I love is that I'm having fresh content to pull from all the time. Can you guys hear me still? Sorry.
I think I lost you for that. You said, I have fresh content I'm pulling from all the time, I think.
Because by what the experiences are that are happening in my life as an entrepreneur, as, a daughter, as things. So that's just where I love about storytelling. So for me, the way that I like to batch my content is I like to create a storytelling library. So where I actually spend time and write out certain stories that are happening in my life or in my journey and whatever season that I'm in. And then I'm going to pull pieces from that and really think about, okay, what's the purpose of why I'm sharing this story? What is the value that I'm going to provide with that story? And also too, what I want people to take away. How do I want them to feel after they hear that story? What action do I want them to do? And so that is how I create my content, because we as human beings, we're multifaceted, right? Like we are more than business owners, and people buy from people. I have a friend who literally was booked because she had a black cat. She has a black cat. And somebody was like, I just want to work with you. I know you're a coach and this and that. Everything looks great, but I'm going to book you because you have a black cat. And it was that commonality that literally she didn't have to really market herself, because she consistently showed up as who she was. She consistently shared her experiences along with her services, products and services on a regular basis, to where the person was just like, they felt like they already knew her. So that's what I love about storytelling. And that's how I really personally implement it into my content strategy, into my content marketing. That's how I do it. And that's what I've noticed, that people have more freedom to be who they are, to show up authentically, so that the right people will want to connect with them. And, you want to repel people that don't want to work with you, or repel people who just maybe wouldn't align with you, and really attract the ones that will. So how would you do that? You have to show people who you are, what it is that you believe in. What do you like to do? Your experiences, they matter, because it's what shaped you, it's what shaped you and the offers that you offer today, like your packages, your services. So I hope that makes sense. I went on a long ramble there.
No, it totally makes sense. And I think that there's something to be said about leaving clients or potential clients that do not align, or wouldn't necessarily get the full, 150% of what you have to offer, and take that and implement it and say that you might be better for somebody else, right? You might be a better alignment or better fit for working with somebody else. And I think a lot of times people who are in small business, or maybe just starting out, feel a little bit of desperation in that I need to work with everyone. I need to say yes to every client. I need to say all of these different things to other people to make sure that this is the right, I don't know, the amount of people that I can say I've worked with, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's totally fair. I think we've all been there as business owners, and we've all had to learn the hard way with that. But you can't be everything for everybody. And I think that's something that you have to consistently remember, just in life in general, and also in business. You can't be everything for everybody. It's not possible. And so why not then really communicate and with your content so that you can work with people that you're actually going to enjoy, right? So like the odds of you having to work with somebody that honestly drains you to where you can end up resenting your business goes down, because you're actually really being intentional with your marketing about who it is that you're speaking to. And so then you'll attract more enjoyable clients. Like avoid that, because that was me when I first started out, right? Like desperate, right? I want to hurt and I want to work with everybody, and which it was a great learning experience. And I know like many of us have been through that, but really just thinking about that now, I'm like, damn, I really should have like leaned in more into like being much more intentional about who it is that I'm speaking to, really knowing my target audience inside and out. And also to standing firm in who I am, because my personality, my quirks, those are my superpowers. But it's hard when you start as an entrepreneur, because you see what everybody else is doing, and like you do feel not either very confident, or you do easily feel like, I can't do this. I can't do what they do. So like, if you're starting out, I get it. Really take that time, I think, to work on that mindset, to be like, no, like this is who I am. I have something to offer. There's somebody that is waiting for me that needs what I have. So I'm going to stand firm in that and keep showing up, no matter how hard it gets and no matter how scary it gets. So that's just like a word of encouragement to give.
Definitely. And I think that there's something to be said about, we are in a new season. My cousin, she said, I think we're in season 2 of COVID. And that was during Thanksgiving. And now I think with Omicron, I'm not sure how to say it.
I feel very on because of Twitter. I know. I'm sure.
Right? Right? I think we've now entered season 3 of COVID and restrictions and lockdowns and quarantines and vaccinations and all of these other things that we hadn't had to think about before, which have brought a certain kind of rise to the, our delivery service industry, to how we're, interacting in person, or how we are now presenting ourselves online more, whether it's through live shopping or live stream, webinars or whatnot. What do you see as 2022 as the most important thing that a small business owner could do to really present themselves where they are being shown to the right audience every single time they show up?
Yeah, I think number one, especially on social media, especially like I spend a lot of time on Instagram, so that's just the main platform I'm going to focus on. But like I can talk about other ones, of course. And so, but mainly Instagram, I think that's the platform that we have seen the most changes ever. I think starting in 2020 when they came out with Reels, and then literally now they're talking about in 2022, the chronological feed coming back. And so now, right, like you have to really start strategically thinking about your strategy. And one thing I always like to say is like, what works for one person may not work for you. So I want to encourage people to really think about video. I know there's still people who are not comfortable with Reels and are still not showing up. And you have to get comfortable with video, because TikTok is going nowhere. And that is Instagram's biggest competitor. They also, not only have they added just recently more updates to Reels, I don't know if you've noticed now, but like it takes up your whole screen. That's a new update. And now you don't have to like be restricted with hopefully your text not being cut off. So like even just like something like that, like that new update just came out. And then also to the chronological feed, like I just mentioned. So I think showing up on video is really going to be great for you. And you don't have to start big right away. Just start small. Like what are some ways that can help you consistently show up on video? I think right now that is the easiest way to grow on Instagram. It's not the only way, but it's certainly the easiest way to grow on Instagram right now, is really just investing more in video. So what I like to say with people is start small, because you see like you'll see the dances and you see all these really cool transitions, which is awesome. But sometimes simplicity is best. And there's nothing wrong with that. My Reels are not crazy. They are very simple. I'm literally talking to a camera and providing value. And and I get good engagement from that. And so, you know what I mean? You have to really just start. So whether that be, again, you just looking at the camera and just talking, just pointing. I know people are always like, well, don't point. But it's like, if you're just starting out, it's better than nothing. You can work your way up from that. And so that's what I really want to encourage, especially with 2022, really try to get more consistent on video. Definitely.
Yeah. And I'm a very big advocate for testing, because when you get on there, and even if you start out, and I am not a pointer, but I understand the philosophy behind just starting out and doing the presenting of it all. Like Vanna White made an entire career out of it, so it's clearly a strategy. And so when you think about, like, my word of 2021 was alignment. What do you think is your word for 2022?
Oh my gosh, these are such good questions. I think for me, 2022, like when I think at the top of my head, I think just freedom, the freedom just to be who I am and continue to run my business the way that I want to run it and what feels good to me. So similar to alignment, and I think that's what I would say. And I think, for social media, we always get so caught up, especially when people are like, oh yeah, crack the algorithm. Like there's no crazy equation to really be successful on social media. It is truly doing what you feel is best for you, looking at your numbers, looking at your analytics. Like the numbers don't lie. Those also tell a story. So really looking at like what feels good for you and looking at those numbers and seeing what works, what doesn't work. It's truly all a big experiment, because I've had accounts where I do one thing on one account and we have been super successful. And I have another account that I'm managing that does not. The same strategies and tactics do not work. So really, for me, freedom, because I'm going to keep experimenting, keep showing up, and keep being who I am and attracting the right people. And also to like being okay, like if I fail in some instances, because failure is very common on social media. And so, but again, having that freedom to do that, but then continuing to show up.
And I think that one of the things that, when you mention failure, one of the things that's the best part about failing on social media is if you have a smaller account, not a whole lot of people are going to see that, right? So it's different than if you are, Justin Bieber and you've got millions of people watching, or if you are Kim Kardashian and they see your Photoshop fail or something, everybody will know. But if you're just starting out and you're just testing things, only a handful of people, the people who are following you or the people it's been pushed to, are going to see it. And you can build from there. And I always love to take those clips and be like, look where I've been and look where I am now. Because then people see the progression and they start rooting for you, right? They want to root for your story, coming back to your storytelling. They want to know where you came from and where you're trying to get to, so that they have something, inside of them to say, oh, she's got this drive and I am attracted to that. So let's talk about your story. Let's talk about, because you're in Minneapolis, is that right?
Yes. Good old.
So tell me about why you became this storytelling strategist.
Oh my gosh. So it was just really funny. So I actually have a degree in biology. I wanted to go to med school. I was in college, and I decided to join a pageant. And so, and it was a much smaller pageant, but it just seemed really cool. I was like, all right, like I'm going to give this a shot. It's something different. And anyway, so I competed in this pageant called Miss Minnesota International, and I ended up winning the pageant. So I became Miss Minnesota International in 2015, which it was through training for that pageant where I really learned about storytelling, marketing, and really branding yourself. Because, in the interview, you have 5 people for only 2 minutes, and they're just shooting questions at you. So you really have to tell a story and paint a picture and do it quickly. And so that was just a really great skill that I had learned. And so throughout that whole journey of speaking events and, traveling as Miss Minnesota, it was where I really learned about storytelling. So when I got back after my year was over as Miss Minnesota, I was in a coffee shop and I was Googling, and I was like, I think I know for sure this is something that I want to do, but I don't know what. And I ended up finding this blog post about Instagram coaching and strategy. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. This is what I want to do. And the person who wrote the blog, looked like she was living her best life in California, very beachy vibes. And that's where I thought she lived. I reached out to her, come to find out she grew up 20 minutes away from me, and she was in Minneapolis. So her SEO game was very strong, and she literally became one of my closest friends who has helped me build my business into like what it is today. But that is, she really guided me at the very beginning with like what I wanted to do. And yeah, now the rest has been history. So I've been full-time on my own now for about, I'm going on year 2. So
That is awesome. And the fact that she was right in your backyard, like that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And so, like I said, she's one of my closest friends and still helps me to continue to help me build my business and gives awesome advice. And so, but it's really crazy. And so it was through my own experiences how I learned that my story is very valid, right? And that people need to hear it. And, because I had people, no matter where they were in their journey with life, as I was Miss Minnesota sharing my story, people were consistently like, I could connect to this piece of your story. I could connect to that piece of your story. Like they felt seen. And they didn't have to walk through the exactly same experiences that I did, but there was some commonality. And so what I loved about it is that I love helping people share their own story because you are you, right? Like people, of course, can love your products and services, but they're going to love it even more if they know the person behind it. And so that's why I love helping people find innovative ways to share their stories, because storytelling truly does do the heavy lifting for you. It is such a small piece of marketing, but it is a powerful piece. And when you do it right and you do it well, you really don't almost have to try hard to find clients, because they are going to come to you, right? Because they are on your journey through and through, because you continue to be vulnerable, you continue to be transparent, and you continue to be who you are. And what more would people ask for? They're going to support you then on your journey, through the highs and the lows. And so that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. And it is powerful. Definitely. You reminded me of something. I had a guest on, her name is Michelle J. Raymond, and she talks about business pages on LinkedIn. And she said a lot of times people have an issue with how they're going to present themselves on LinkedIn. And it's like, you don't have to take, Akua on Instagram and then filter Akua to be on LinkedIn. It's, you're on these platforms as you, no different. And yes, maybe the caption lengths are different and, things like that. But like you said, your story is your story is your story, and you're framing it maybe for your audience, but you're not changing who you are.
Yeah. And I think that is a very common thing I see on LinkedIn. And this is why I'm like, and like LinkedIn too is a very powerful social media platform as well. But I'm just like, oh, like I can't stand when I see people all the time. Like, this is a professional platform, leave it off and da 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 da. And I'm like, number one, who the hell are you? Number one. And two, like, you don't pay my bills, so mind your business, mind the business that pays you. And then two, like, I will not alter myself at all to appease you, to make you feel comfortable. Like, I will show up equally how I show up on Instagram is what you will also get on LinkedIn. Like, I'm not changing myself. I want my clients to know, and I have found clients on LinkedIn, like, I'm like, great. And it's truly, it is because myself, like, and that's something too, again, that a lot of people still struggle with on social media. And because it's not fun. I'm the type of person, if I can't show up as who I am, I'm not showing up at all then. And I know there are a lot of people who think that way. That's why they're not showing up. And it's like, you have to let that go, because at the end of the day, not everybody, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and you have to accept that. And it does get easier as time goes on. I'm just certainly do not edit myself on LinkedIn as I do for Instagram, just to make people feel comfortable. Like, I do not do that. And you shouldn't have to. LinkedIn is great. I like seeing really great, healthy conversations about stuff, whether that be in the corporate world or marketing or even just personal things. And I love when people share their personal achievements and celebrations on LinkedIn. It makes it really fun. And I'm like, oh, this is like what I like to see here, along with people also providing value. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents about that.
Yeah. Well, so what is next for you for this new year? What exactly do you have your goals set on for the next year?
Yeah, so I'm getting ready to rebrand. So officially as a storytelling strategist in January, I'm offering a new service, which is a storytelling intensive. So where I help people, anybody really, that just gain clarity on sharing their story on social media and creating content that feels good to them, to where they can be themselves, but also sells, like where they're able to make money. And so I'm really, really excited to be getting ready to launch that here in a few weeks. I have people in beta right now, which has been a lot of fun. And I'm moving to Texas later this year, so preparing for that. And I'm like, holy smokes, like there's just so many things happening. Launching a podcast that's going to be coming out here in a few weeks, which I'm really excited about. And just continue to show up and be who I am and continue to make an impact. That is the plan for 2022. You know, it has just been such a shitstorm. Sorry, I'm sorry. I like literally is like, it's just been nuts these past few years. So continuing to find joy consistently throughout the new year.
Well, what's in Texas? Or why Texas from Minnesota?
Yeah, people have been like, what's it? Nothing. I literally know like one or two people there. I just want something different. And I love Minnesota. And the thing is like, I'm so comfortable here. But I'm like, that means that I feel, but like also too, like there's like a discontent. Like I feel like I feel like there's something more that I'm like trying to figure out. So I just decided to give it a shot. Let's just try Dallas. I like it so far. I like Dallas, but everybody's been telling me Austin. So I think maybe I'll check out Austin. So I'm hopping between the two. So I'm actually ready to go in like a few weeks actually, just to kind of go explore the cities and see what I like and what I don't like and kind of make that decision. But yeah, I really just moving to a town where you don't really know anybody, and I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm hoping that I'll learn more about myself and I can always come back home. Minnesota will always be home, so I can always come back. So yeah.
Yes. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I'm going to invite you because I'm doing this like 14-day series on brand stories on Solve. And so I want you to be one of my panelists any of the days. I know that I was trying to create a series because Kelly was like, make series. And so I was trying to do that. So I will invite you to be one of the panelists on that one. If you haven't been on Solve, Akua is like, go to storytelling strategist on Solve, which is another platform, audio based, but is actually coming to beta is already in beta already, and you can try that one out too. So if you can't find her on her website, which is akuakonadu.com, then you can find her on Solve as well, which are really great 15-minute segments of audio goodness that you will learn so much from. So is there anywhere else that we should mention that they can find you on socials?
Come hang out with me on the gram. I mean, that's where I live, y'all. So come hang out with me there at Akua Konadu _. Yeah. And if you have any questions about storytelling, marketing, like content creation, like don't be afraid to hit me up. So yeah.
Definitely. Well, it's so good to have you on the podcast, and I look forward to hearing your podcast. Let me know when it comes out so I can do a little shout out on my podcast so people can migrate over to yours. And have a